The dictionary defines it as a small, violent storm, or an outburst of applause. Both are more fitting than those who gave the Panavia Tornado its name could ever have imagined. Since it first entered into combat in January 1991 in the appropriately named Operation Desert Storm, the Tornado has gained many admirers. The end result of the largest multinational weapons development project in history, the Tornado has emerged, despite cynicism from many sources, as one of the bravest of all classic multi-role combat aircraft active today. Ignoring predictions that it would be a jack of all trades but master of none, the Tornado has instead shown that you can be a master of all trades. Designed to satisfy the rigorous requirements of three of the world's most professional air forces, plus a navy, it packs a punch much heavier than that of many other aircraft, both larger and more expensive. The story of how this was realized goes back many years. Tactical aerial combat truly started during the First World War. Initially, aircraft called scouts were utilized for reconnaissance and artillery observation duties. Then, some crews began using small arms to shoot at each other or carrying grenades to drop on troops on the ground. From these primitive beginnings arrived the concept of the fighter and the bomber. One was engineered with speed and agility in mind, the other with range and load carrying. It would be a long time before the multi-role concept could be brought into being. During the Second World War, the Spitfire emerged as the profile of the fighter. With beautiful lines and handling qualities, as well as a powerful battery of forward-firing guns, it could equally well shoot down enemy bombers or dogfight with their escort. By the 1960s, most people viewed the fighter purely as an interceptor, and the bomber as just a bomber. An inevitable consequence was aircraft like the Royal Air Force's Lightning. These sleek machines were almost all engine, and in terms of raw power, have few rivals even today. No one could forget that vertical climb almost as soon as the wheels had left the runway. But the aircraft had very limited endurance and payload capacity. They could not carry out ground attack or reconnaissance missions. To combine such capabilities in one aircraft demanded something extra special, and it was obvious from the start that it would be expensive. By the late 1960s, several European nations were looking for replacements for existing aircraft, and after 2 years of preliminary discussions, in 1969, Britain, West Germany and Italy got together to build one. That it would be a two-seater with variable geometry wings was soon established. But to get the shape right required tens of thousands of hours in different kinds of wind tunnel. The wings would spread right out for high lift at takeoff, be set at intermediate angles for cruising, and folded right back for high-speed penetration of enemy airspace. To get these features right, models were tested in spinning tunnels or at varying angles of attack. They were also fitted with miniature external stores to check that they would separate smoothly. Eventually, by 1972, it was possible to draw a three-view plan showing what the new multi-role combat aircraft, or MRCA, would look like. At that time, it was secret, and only the designers from the British Aircraft Corporation, later named British Aerospace, Messerschmitt Bölkow Blohm, and Air Italia, appreciated the fantastic compactness of their creation. It was even smaller than an F-4 Phantom, and a full 20 feet shorter than an F-111, the aircraft the RAF had originally wanted after the cancellation of TSR-2. Of course, Panavia, as the consortium was called, had started work later and could benefit from more advanced technology. Much of their success came from sheer good engineering, not only by the major airframe partners, but by hundreds of subcontractors all over Europe, and in the case of the main radar, in America as well. Everything had eventually to come together and fit together perfectly. Assembly lines were located at Warton in England, Manching in Germany, and Turin in Italy. Thousands of parts were tested exhaustively to discover, for example, the long-term effects of vibration or that actuator rods would still work perfectly after hundreds of hours. The landing gear had to open and retract smoothly every time and absorb the weight of the aircraft on touchdown. Specifically, the landing gear had to be exceptionally rugged to support the Tornado's high-density structure and its heavy external stores. Even the front of the fuselage and canopy were subjected to tests to determine the effect of bird strikes. Later, the engine intakes would also go through the same treatment. One major test program concerned the crew ejection system. A full-sized mock-up of the cockpit and large one-piece canopy was built into a rocket-propelled sled running on rails. Inside were two Martin Baker Mark X ejector seats, on which sat dummies in full flying clothing. Once initiated, the whole ejection sequence had to be both rapid and fully automatic, and in production aircraft can be initiated by either crew member. The canopy flies off first, followed by the two seats, whose rockets propel them to a safe height for the parachutes to deploy. This means that Tornado pilots can even eject while taking off or landing. Meanwhile, at Oberndorf in Germany, the famous Mauser company began testing its new Mk 27mm cannon. Most Tornadoes are fitted with two of these, although the RAF's air defense variant only has one. The gun's magazines hold 180 rounds, which can be fired at two different rates depending on the type of target. Engineers at Oberndorf focused on ensuring the gas-operated mechanism remained reliable under the extreme G-forces experienced during high-speed maneuvers. The engine selected for the MRCA was the Rolls-Royce RB199, which is built by another consortium of British, German and Italian companies called Turbo Union. The engine is a three-spool turbofan, developing 16,000 pounds of thrust, yet is tiny in size, only 128 inches long, including the afterburner and target-type thrust reverser to help the aircraft pull up on wet or icy runways. The reverser is a real bonus and something that rival aircraft do not have. During test runs at Manching in 1974, it was found that the engine suffered from surging, so the compressor blades had to be redesigned. Then the turbine disc proved too weak and had to be strengthened. To overcome these hurdles, the Turbo Union engineers had to push the limits of materials science, utilizing advanced alloys capable of enduring the immense thermal stresses of sustained reheat. But eventually, the engine was ready for flight testing beneath an RAF Vulcan. There was great political pressure to get the MRCA into the air because of a vindictive campaign to destroy the whole program. But such things can't be rushed, and before the first flight, the engines had run over 2,000 hours on the ground and 320 hours in the air. The first prototype, D9591, was built in Germany and flew from Manching. It was painted bright red and white, and at that time had no weapons, while most of the advanced mission avionics were also absent. The aircraft, piloted by Paul Millett with Niels Meister in the back seat, began taxiing and testing its brakes during the afternoon of August 14, 1974. Eventually satisfied, Millett lined up at the end of the runway and, holding the aircraft on its brakes, ran the engines up to full reheat. Then it surged forward, accelerating rapidly to 140 knots, when the nose wheel unstuck and finally lifted into the air at 165 knots. As the first prototype climbed away from the Bavarian airfield, it marked more than just a successful flight. It was the physical vindication of years of intense European cooperation. From the very beginning, the MRCA handled like a dream. The variable geometry wings, both with and without stores on swiveling pylons, cycled from one extreme to the other with no change in trim. All the test pilots loved it, and soon other prototypes were flying in Germany, Italy, and England. Over the next 5 years, a total of 15 development aircraft were built and flown, and it was christened Tornado. Engine surging still proved a problem, which was only gradually resolved. But the test aircraft were soon flying mission profiles. Here, the CSAS, or Command and Stability Augmentation System, comes into its own. Using CSAS, the pilot's stick and rudder pedal movements are translated into electronic control signals, which are passed to the mechanical actuators physically driving the flying control surfaces. At the heart of the CSAS is one self-monitoring computer to control pitch and a second to control roll and yaw. Pilot demands from the stick and rudder pedals are fed into the appropriate computers and combined with signals from pitch, roll, and yaw rate gyroscopes to give the correct commands for control surface deflection. The main control surfaces are the rudder, ailerons, and spoilers. Yaw demands result in rudder movement. Pitch demands are reflected in symmetrical movement of the ailerons. Roll demands by differential movements. At low sweep angles, roll demands are also fed to the spoilers. The CSAS system is tolerant of single failures. If multiple faults occur, a direct electrical link is provided to the actuators. In case of total CSAS failure, which might be caused by battle damage, a mechanical backup linkage continues to operate the ailerons, providing a get-you-home safety feature. Wing sweep is most carefully designed, but in the event of failure, the Tornado can be landed with them fully swept back. The fuselage slots have simple but effective elastic seals. About 5% of the wing area disappears into the fuselage at maximum sweep. Since ailerons and spoilers are used as control surfaces, the entire trailing edge is available for powerful double-slotted flaps. Along the whole span of the leading edge are equally powerful slats in 3 sections, augmented by Kruger flaps, which fold down from under the leading edge of the fixed inboard portion of wing. When in the high lift mode, the Tornado wing has the highest lift coefficient in the world. This helps shorten the landing, which is further assisted by large air brakes either side of the fuselage rear.
Morning, gentlemen. This morning we're going to talk about rapid data entry.
The men who are going to fly the Tornado all converge on Cottesmore in England for their conversion training. They come from the Royal Air Force itself, from Germany's Luftwaffe and Kriegsmarine, and from Italy's Aeronautica Militare. All pilots and backseaters, called either navigators or weapons system officers, receive the same basic training at the TTTE, the Tri-National Tornado Training Establishment. Here, the aircrew of several nationalities learn how to work together. For example, a German Navy pilot with an English backseater might find themselves flying a Tornado built in Italy. Dedication is total, for flying a Tornado is just about the ultimate goal for many airmen, and their concentration and physical fitness have to be absolute. Beyond the technical skills, the TTTE fostered a unique culture of interoperability, ensuring that tactical procedures remained standardized across the different air arms. Each training or operational mission begins in the tight security of the CPGS, the Cassette Preparation Ground Station, which is normally actually underground or in a hardened shelter. Here, an ordinary audio cassette is inserted into a computer linked to a special sensor head. This is placed on an equally special map with very carefully surveyed location coordinates. Each time the button is pressed, the computer records the mission waypoint or target. Additional information on flight paths, headings, weapons load, times, speeds, and fuel states is pre-programmed onto the cassette as well. A hard paper copy is also printed. Then the cassette is loaded into the aircraft's own main navigation computer. Meanwhile, the ground crews will be loading external fuel tanks, bombs, missiles, or other stores. With Tornado, this is not the laborious process it used to be because sway bracing is automatic. With the final preparations complete, the aircrew head out to the tarmac to commence their pre-flight inspections. The backseater configures the armament parameters within the digital management system. Consequently, the aircraft identifies the specific ordnance assigned to every underwing station. The entry hatch is then locked into place. Simultaneously, the pilot performs a walk-around to verify the external integrity of the airframe. Within the ergonomic forward station, the pilot is responsible for maneuvering the jet, supervising vital systems, engaging targets by sight when required, and managing air-to-air engagements. The weapons officer, acting as the primary navigator, begins by inserting the flight profile data. His primary interface consists of two multifunction displays situated beside the central radar and tactical map. These provide comprehensive oversight of the planned flight path. They further visualize the real-time navigational status during every phase of the mission. Additionally, these screens can be toggled for strike coordination or positional corrections, using either automated or manual modes. All offensive air-to-ground systems are managed from the aft station. Detailed release parameters are entered into the interface while the jet is still on the ramp. When approaching the objective, a single trigger press initiates the deployment of the chosen stores. A conventional bombing reticle is no longer required. The integrated sensors, guidance tools, and fire control processors direct the platform and deploy its payload with surgical precision. 129 of the 809 units produced for the founding partner states are trainer variants equipped with dual controls. They maintain the exact same combat effectiveness as the frontline fleet. As the pilot moves toward the strip, the handling feels identical to a single control unit. Scanning the head-up display, or HUD, he steers the aircraft from the hangar toward the active runway. As the throttles reach maximum power, only the internal processors truly register the 10-ton payload hanging beneath, more than double the capacity of a classic Second World War heavy bomber. The Tornado stands as a definitive multi-role platform. Its architects engineered the airframe to execute 7 core mission types: deep strike, airfield suppression, tactical interdiction, close air support, intelligence gathering, naval strike, and intercept duties. Every sortie had to be viable at extreme low altitudes and high velocities, regardless of darkness or poor visibility. These strict criteria dictated from the beginning that crews would have to place absolute faith in their electronic suites. Once airborne, the Tornado's positioning data is sourced from 4 distinct sensors. This information is refined within the central processor through Kalman filtering. The main inertial sensor, located in the tail, offers immediate telemetry on heading, orientation, and velocity. A supplementary Doppler radar monitors ground speed and drift. Simultaneously, the air data unit tracks true airspeed and Mach numbers, ensuring the pilot is constantly aware of the jet's exact coordinates, altitude, and momentum. This synergy with the rear seat fire control suite allows the Tornado to penetrate at 200 feet and execute a pinpoint strike without the crew ever needing to look outside the glass. Real-time tactical data is projected on the right-hand display in the rear cockpit. Various flight metrics can be accessed with a quick command. At the heart of the navigator's station is the crucial integrated map and radar interface. The scale of the map can be adjusted from 1 million down to 250,000. The navigator can subsequently transition to a dedicated radar sweep. At a 10-mile resolution, the system is sharp enough to identify structures as fine as power lines across the terrain. This high resolution stems from the ground mapping radar's advanced processing, which displays a detailed synthetic image of the terrain directly for the navigator. Transitioning to the 4-mile scale reveals even greater clarity, highlighting the contours of small excavations or even the presence of solitary trees. For targeting purposes, the interface links directly to the mission data cartridge, which was programmed on the ground with highly accurate waypoints and strike coordinates. The integrated map and radar suite provides exceptionally precise data regarding the positions of both the Tornado and its objectives, though the navigator might need to input minor corrections after an hour of flight. He utilizes a straightforward manual controller for these updates. The standard interdiction variants of the Tornado possess an operational radius of 800 to 900 miles, varying with payload and weather, meaning aerial refueling is a necessity for many long-range sorties. The hydraulic refueling probe, mounted on the starboard side of the fuselage, allows the tanks to be replenished from a Voyager or similar tanker in approximately 10 minutes. Alternatively, a refueling pod can be utilized by a second Tornado. This technique, known as buddy refueling, is frequently employed as the tanker aircraft remains fully mission-capable. Furthermore, although the probe and its housing appear substantial, they do not compromise the Tornado's flight characteristics or aerodynamic performance. Air-to-air refueling is essentially the only phase of a mission requiring the pilot to rely solely on manual visual coordination. For nearly every other task, he utilizes the head-up display, which typically projects symbology in the form of flight commands. Centered on the display is the aircraft symbol, flanked by indicators representing the ground and horizon, showing the jet's orientation relative to the environment. Whether hand flying, a thrilling yet intense task at such low altitudes, or engaging the autopilot, the HUD provides the pilot with constant positional awareness. Under automated control, the terrain-following radar and auto-throttles maintain the exact desired flight path, guided by an invisible tether contouring the landscape ahead. Internal processors perform continuous self-checks to ensure flight safety. The pilot can choose between hard, medium, or soft ride settings. The hard mode permits the lowest possible altitude to exploit terrain masking and evade hostile radar. This simplified animation demonstrates the system's logic. Input from the terrain-following radar is processed by the computer, which then modulates the flight controls to clear any obstacles. Even during manual flight, integrated safety limits remain active. Once the terrain is cleared, the aircraft automatically descends again, having been exposed to enemy sensors for only a fleeting moment. As the Tornado nears its objective, the strike sequence is managed by the navigator. He confirms the final parameters on the weapon management panel, where selections were previously made, and verifies the aiming mode. At this stage, one of his displays has transitioned into the dedicated attack layout. In the upper left corner, next to the letter Y, the decreasing distance to the target is visible. In the front seat, the pilot is aware the target is ahead and can often identify it through the HUD. The head-up display visualizes the calculated impact line along with the target indicator and the actual objective in the distance. Should visibility be poor, the CCIP, or Continuously Computed Impact Point, ensures the aircraft remains locked on target. Ordnance release is then handled automatically. The targeting suite accounts for weapon ballistics while simultaneously factoring in the aircraft's altitude, velocity, heading, pitch, and crosswinds. Even less experienced crews consistently achieve surgical results. Returning to base, the Tornado glides in as if on rails, which in a technical sense it is. It uses no braking parachute, unlike many other combat jets. Instead, those air brakes, thrust reversers, flaps, spoilers and tailerons stick it to the runway before the powerful wheel brakes take effect. If all else fails, the Tornado even has an arrestor hook, although it is certainly not designed for carrier operations. All the Tornado's electronics are built up on a basis of line-replaceable units, or LRUs, the Reliable Modular System. This includes the Texas Instruments main radar, which is fully accessible by opening the nose like a door. Most other avionics systems are at convenient eye level along the fuselage. It is the work of only a few moments to take out one module and plug in a replacement. No matter how complex, no calibration is needed after connecting up the new box. Every item has what is known as BITE, or built-in test equipment. BITE tells the flight and ground crews what, if anything, has gone wrong and what needs to be done to correct it. A central maintenance panel displays the status of each item and allows the ground crew to identify any malfunction with confidence using a checklist. An even more extensive system survey can be made by loading a special test program cassette in through the cockpit voice recorder. This feeds into the main computer, and the results can be read off the right-hand tab in the rear cockpit. If anything needs attention, the specialist tradesmen know it will be easy to get at, unlike in some combat aircraft. Over 46% of the Tornado's exterior surface is made up of 430 access panels. Even in the most extreme operational conditions, in desert, Arctic, or jungle, all maintenance is made as easy as possible. If only cars were built like this. In the turnaround between missions, the greatest delay is caused by refueling, although even this takes little time. Propellants are loaded via a solitary NATO-grade pressure nozzle at the rapid speed of 2,400 pounds per minute. Reservoirs are topped up sequentially, moving forward to aft, because filling the tail section prematurely could cause the airframe to pitch upward onto its tail. The modular replacement concept was even applied to the Turbo Union RB199 power plants. This, indeed, is a universal norm in modern military aviation. Yet, the compact footprint of the Rolls-Royce engineering significantly assists the technicians. Swapping the complete engine assembly is therefore straightforward. In different jets, the motors must be extracted through the rear or necessitate removing the entire empennage. To swap a Tornado power plant, the bottom access doors of the engine bay are unlatched, and after releasing the quick disconnect joints to the fuselage, the RB199 is lowered by small winches onto a trolley. This remarkable ease of maintenance was a core requirement from the very beginning, designed to keep the aircraft operational even when ground facilities are minimal. Even in rugged combat settings, the entire process lasts only a few minutes. The motor weighs just 2,000 pounds, roughly 50% less than the unit used in an F-111. The used engine is rolled aside, and its successor is moved in, lifted into position, and secured within a similarly brief time frame. This streamlined maintenance cycle is not merely a convenience. It is a strategic advantage that ensures maximum aircraft availability during sustained operations. By allowing for rapid engine changes in the field, the Tornado can be returned to the flight line far quicker than its contemporaries, reducing the logistical burden on ground support units. The personnel who pilot Tornado have immense trust, stemming from decades of proven mechanical reliability. Their jets are typically kept in reinforced bunkers, where arming, fueling, and final checks are all performed protected from the elements. Tornado operational hours are now significantly past several million units. That is an incredible history, considering the intense demands placed on every individual sortie. Practice sorties are usually flown at an altitude of 500 feet and remain subsonic when near residential zones. During conflict, the jet would be moving far lower and quicker, regardless of the weather or optical clarity. The accuracy of the terrain-following Doppler systems, paired with the inertial navigation suite, lets Tornado reach its objective and retreat using every geographical feature for concealment. Although current crews can easily achieve outcomes which 40 years ago would have appeared miraculous, it remains true that piloting Tornado correctly requires a highly skilled specialist. It also demands courage. To strike airbases, you must fly directly over the strip at low altitude, a tactic the Gulf War proved can be hazardous to the aircraft. The primary tool used for runway suppression is the Hunting JP-233 submunitions dispenser. The back of each pod releases 30 parachute-stabilized charges, which initially pierce the tarmac and then detonate underneath. From the front of each pod, drop 215 small denial mines to obstruct any subsequent repair work. Another core mission for the Tornado involves neutralizing enemy radar installations, specifically those directing surface-to-air missile batteries. To perform this, the aircraft can be equipped with as many as 9 air-launched anti-radiation missiles, known as alarms. These units can even be mounted on the flanks of the wing pylons, alongside a complete payload of conventional bombs. This British aerospace weapon has long been a vital part of the strike inventory. It functions as a sophisticated fire-and-forget system. Its nose section contains 4 sensors that lock onto hostile radar signals, guiding the missile via a digital processor toward the source, where a high-explosive warhead with a laser proximity fuse completes the strike. Should the enemy deactivate their radar, the alarm climbs and deploys a parachute, drifting slowly while searching for a signal. If no new source appears, it targets the last known position to have transmitted. No other anti-radar missile possesses this unique capability. Naturally, chaff dispensers and active jamming pods are also mounted on the outer pylons for protection. The Tornado is also compatible with all current or planned NATO tactical ordnance, a truly unique capability. Its delivery precision remains world-class, a fact validated during the United States Strategic Air Command bombing trials. The German Marineflieger, or Naval Air Arm, maintains critical anti-shipping responsibilities, especially within the Baltic region. Its 2 wings, MFG-1 and 2, utilize 100 interdictor strike, or IDS, tornadoes, in addition to 12 dual-control trainers. Their primary anti-ship weapon is the Cormoran, developed specifically for the German Navy by Messerschmitt Bölkow Blohm. This company also produces the Alarm warhead. The Cormoran is a substantial fire-and-forget missile featuring a powerful 352-pound warhead with a fuse designed to detonate only after piercing up to 3.5 inches of armor plating. Upon launch, 2 booster rockets engage for a second before the main sustainer engine takes over. It then drops to an altitude of roughly 100 feet, traveling over 20 miles toward the objective, guided by an active radar transmitter and a passive receiver. This system is considered highly resistant to enemy electronic jamming. As it nears the target, the Cormoran skims at a mere 10 feet above the waves. While it was once intended that the Luftwaffe would be the largest Tornado operator with nearly 600 units, the final order was settled at 212. Their Wild Weasel task is to suppress enemy radars before the bombers arrive. German squadrons train rigorously, often practicing low-level penetrations through the narrow Norwegian fjords. To an observer, it is remarkable to be inches from a granite cliff one moment and 10 miles further down the coast a minute later. Pilots must remain intensely focused, checking their mirrors and the HUD while prioritizing their electronic displays and control interfaces. The cockpit environment assists this by providing a stable temperature, a smooth flight feel, and relatively low noise, leaving only the roar of transonic air. Historically, one of the Luftwaffe's most formidable assets was the MW-1, the German equivalent to the RAF's JP-233 submunitions dispenser. Custom designed for the Tornado by the firm now integrated into Airbus Defence, it was a truly massive weapon system for its era. It consisted of 4 slab-sided sections with aerodynamic ends. Its immense size, comparable to a large station wagon, created significant aerodynamic drag. The MW-1 was a high-capacity firepower container featuring 112 double-ended lateral tubes. Each tube measured nearly 6 inches in diameter and ejected munitions in opposite directions simultaneously to neutralize recoil. The versatile payload once included KB-44-shaped charges for overhead tank attacks, MIFF anti-tank mines with acoustic sensors, MUSA fragmentation mines for soft targets, MUSPA area denial mines for runways, Stabo cratering bombs, and ASW rocket-propelled weapons for hardened shelters. The MW-1 is configured with the specific munitions required for each target. The system is particularly effective against large formations of enemy tanks and troops or against airfields. A single high-speed pass has devastating effect, even seen in slow motion. The number of munitions carried varies according to type, from 224 of the large Stabo to an incredible 4,700 KB-44s. Similarly, by making their attack at different heights, the crew can scatter a wide or compact area of ground. After a mission, the empty MW-1 containers are jettisoned, leaving the aircraft clean to make a supersonic escape. Since the Italian Air Force is a relatively small organization, the multi-role philosophy was extremely appealing. They operated 100 IDS Tornadoes, including 12 dual-control variants for conversion training. These were distributed among 3 groupie, the 154th, 155th, and 156th, which were part of the 6th, 50th, and 36th Stormy, or wings. The distinctive golden lightning bolt on the tail identifies aircraft from the 156th Gruppo, based at Gioia del Colle in southern Italy, positioned between Bari and Taranto. This specific unit was tasked with an anti-shipping role. The Tornado enabled the Italian Air Force to phase out dedicated reconnaissance squadrons as it frequently flew with Messerschmitt Bulkau-Blohm camera pods. Technically, the Italian aircraft were nearly identical to German models in terms of weaponry and avionics. Given Italy's strategic position in the Mediterranean, maritime strike was a vital mission. Aeronautica Militare Tornadoes carried Cormoran missiles alongside American 500 and 1,000-pound bombs. They were also capable of carrying British BL-755 cluster bombs, the MW-1 system, Maverick missiles, and even nuclear ordnance. Like their German counterparts, they utilized the Cerberus jamming pod on the left wing, or the indigenous Elettronica EL-73. Over time, Italian jets were equipped with bolt-on refueling probes and utilized American Sergeant Fletcher pods for buddy refueling. Observing a Tornado land is highly educational and quite captivating. The complex arrangement of flaps, slats, and air brakes creates immense lift on final approach, while the aircraft's ability to stop in a very short distance remains remarkable. This impressive short-field performance was a testament to the versatility of the original Interdictor Strike airframe, which had been engineered to operate from damaged or tactical runways across Europe. For a long period, even from Panavia partners, the RAF kept its requirement for an all-weather interceptor secret, the Air Defense Variant, or ADV.
The Tornado F2 reporter Richard Duckenfield. Now with the rest of our Northwest news on a very wet Thursday evening here in Manchester. Here's John Mundy.
Preston, the first Tornado Interceptor aircraft was rolled out today. This is the first variant of the original Tornado launched just 2 months ago. These aircraft will be built jointly by Britain, Germany and Italy and represent the future for the RAF and other NATO forces for the next 2 decades. This Tornado will be able to loiter on patrol for hours, refuelling in flight when necessary, and its job will be to detect, identify and destroy supersonic aircraft at long range, at low or high altitudes, day or night. Well, no flying with this particular aeroplane today, but at the end of this morning's ceremony, one of the first Tornadoes flew past.
The first prototype, designated the Tornado F2, debuted at Warton for its initial flight on October 27, 1979. Production did not start for another 5 years because, beneath the surface, it was a completely different machine. It measured 4 feet longer than the IDS for 3 specific reasons. First, it required a longer nose for the Marconi Foxhunter radar. Second, extra fuselage space was needed for 2 pairs of 12-foot Skyflash missiles. Third, after the 18th aircraft, a new RB199 engine variant with larger afterburners was introduced. These changes improved supersonic speed and allowed for an extra 200 gallons of fuel. However, maximum endurance remained around 2 hours without tanker support. Thus, the definitive Tornado F3 featured a permanent, retractable refueling probe on the port side. To accommodate this, 1 Mauser cannon was removed, as the F3 was intended to engage threats long before reaching gun range. Still, the remaining cannon, shown here in slow motion, was kept for emergencies. As an ADV returns to Warton, the wings are seen fully swept forward to 67 degrees, facilitated by a redesigned wing flap system and the removal of the Kruger flaps. A subtler change involved the tailerons, which were adjusted to provide clearance for the thrust reversers, themselves moved to accommodate the larger afterburners and the elongated rear profile. Much like the legendary Lightning, the ADV was developed as a dedicated interceptor, requiring standby teams to master the rapid dash for a scramble alert. The Royal Air Force eventually operated a fleet of 165 Tornado F3s, with an additional 24 units produced for the Saudi Arabian Air Force. The primary payload consisted of 4 Skyflash missiles recessed under the belly, supplemented by short-range sidewinders on the pylons. The Skyflash utilized a monopulse radar seeker, evolved from the earlier American Sparrow design. It offered a 31-mile reach and could be fired from altitudes as low as 100 feet. Meanwhile, the veteran Sidewinder employed an infrared seeker and remained effective for targets within a 9-mile radius. The Foxhunter radar, housed in the aircraft's nose, enables the platform to track and intercept targets flying at extreme altitudes or just above the terrain. The ADV was the most sophisticated interceptor ever operated by the Royal Air Force. While it could perform in an attack capacity, carrying a 10-ton payload similar to the IDS, its avionics, radar, cockpit interfaces and software were specifically tuned for air-to-air engagements. It was never intended as a dogfighter like the American F-16. Rather, it was built for the air defense of the United Kingdom, designed to engage threats as far from the coast as possible. As one pilot described it, the mission was to intercept hostiles 400 miles out on dark, stormy nights amidst low-level targets and heavy electronic jamming. While the pilot's cockpit resembled the IDS, the rear station was entirely different. The displays were arranged side by side, serving specialized roles beyond simple navigation. The F3 leaned heavily on its Foxhunter radar, which provided long-range detection, the ability to track multiple targets while searching for others, and resilience against intense jamming. Radar information is presented on the displays in various modes, providing the operator with critical target data such as speed, altitude, and heading. Additionally, the Foxhunter offered high-quality ground mapping for navigation updates. The large Skyflash missiles, eventually succeeded by the American AMRAAM, were launched via Fraser-Nash cartridge-powered ramps to ensure clean separation. The primary benefit of the modern AMRAAM was its fire-and-forget capability, whereas the Skyflash required constant guidance until impact. Watching the Tornado F3 in its element, performing an aerial ballet, one could easily overlook its role as a lethal combatant. It was a machine that proved it could intercept enemy jets and cruise missiles, even under the most severe electronic warfare conditions, including chaff, flares, and high-powered interference. It featured 2 high-performance engines, providing crews with the reliability needed for long missions over the ocean. The aircraft truly offers a complete package, powered by 2 dependable high-performance engines that instill total confidence in its crews during long-range maritime operations far over the ocean. Its handling is remarkably forgiving, and its endurance was once considered superior to nearly any other air defense fighter globally. Yet, the airframe is only one half of the equation. The highly skilled and professional air crews are equally essential to the weapon system's reputation. The F-3 appears to glide with unparalleled elegance as it approaches a VC-10 tanker for refueling, a display of precision that is rarely matched. This operational flexibility allowed the Interceptor to guard a massive volume of airspace stretching from Iceland to the Baltic. One sophisticated feature of the F-3 from that era was JTIDS, the Joint Tactical Information Distribution System. This was a new secure data link designed for the rapid transmission of information from ground stations, providing navigators with an immediate picture of every aircraft in the vicinity, clearly identifying them as friend or foe. This data was presented on one of the 2 main display screens. As this system matured, it granted the Tornado ADV even greater versatility than its initial design promised. But as the ADV established itself, the ECR variant emerged. This electronic combat and reconnaissance version was the newest Tornado at the time, developed specifically for the Luftwaffe. The Italian Air Force also showed strong interest, and there was even speculation that it might serve as the future Wild Weasel platform for the United States Air Force, though no definitive deals were finalized. Surprisingly, despite a clear operational requirement, the RAF did not initially adopt this specialized version. While capable of standard strike missions, the ECR lacked internal guns, as its primary purpose was to detect and neutralize enemy air defenses. It specialized in standoff reconnaissance, border patrols, and providing electronic cover for friendly strike packages. Other Tornadoes can also perform an airborne command and control function to a certain degree, but this capability was a truly fresh development. The jet is equipped with an emitter location system that identifies radar signals, evaluates their hostility, matches them against a digital threat library, and ranks them by level of danger. The highest threats, such as radars guiding surface-to-air missiles, are instantly suppressed. At the same time, a ghost aircraft signature is produced at a safe distance from the actual jet to deceive incoming missiles. The specific mechanics behind this technical miracle remain strictly classified. The ECR variant was also designed to carry infrared sensors, anti-radiation weaponry, and specialized data links. The Tornado initially entered active combat during the 1991 Gulf War to liberate occupied Kuwait. Throughout this period, Royal Air Force and Saudi units joined forces for high-risk strikes against hostile airfields in central and northern Iraq. Dressed in desert camouflage, they worked alongside the coalition air fleet to achieve their objectives with impressive speed. Regrettably, largely due to misfortune, 5 aircraft were lost. The primary armament utilized during these sorties was the JP-233 cluster dispenser previously mentioned. In this high-stakes conflict, pilots flew most missions at what was described as the minimum possible altitude. However, the JP-233 required a floor of at least 200 feet to prevent the jet from being damaged by its own submunitions. This was authentic nap-of-the-earth flight, with the Tornado's advanced terrain following and navigation radars, enabling it to mask its approach within the wadis and bypass Iraqi sensors not yet neutralized by wild Weasel teams. Later, the Tornado force focused on destroying reinforced aircraft shelters. For these extended-range missions, aerial refueling was vital, with the venerable Victor tankers once again demonstrating their reliability. Formerly the backbone of Britain's V-bomber force, these Victors were not the only veteran airframes to shine in the Gulf. By late January, the focus shifted to strategic bridges spanning the Tigris and Euphrates. This required smart, laser-guided munitions, leading to the deployment of Buccaneers to provide active laser designation. While the RAF's GR-1 and other variants featured a laser ranger and target seeker within a small nose fairing, they lacked the ability to project a laser beam like the American-made Pave Spike pod carried by the Buccaneer. This partnership between established and modern platforms demonstrated to the world the true meaning of surgical strike precision. These laser-guided strikes neutralized their targets with a level of accuracy reminiscent of the legendary Dam Busters. Fittingly, as the 617 Squadron was one of the units operating the Tornado. As the Buccaneer approached the end of its service life, it was anticipated that an upgraded Tornado, the GR-4, would eventually be equipped with its own active laser designation hardware. Until that transition was realized, the Tornado continued to perform its duties admirably, proving the versatility of the multi-role philosophy. In the aftermath of the Gulf conflict, it was clear: if Saddam Hussein sowed the whirlwind, he reaped the tornado.
It will replace a range of aircraft types which had been previously required for the strike, reconnaissance and intercept roles. But the true significance of Tornado is not only with the economics of its multi-role performance. since in each of its roles it is in many respects superior to specialized, less versatile aircraft, none of which has such an effective all-weather day and night capability. The variable sweep wing was chosen as the most practical solution in meeting the range of operational requirements at minimum airframe size and weight. Wings forward are for takeoff, landing and long-range cruise. Wings are fully swept for sustained high-speed or supersonic flight. The mid-setting is selected for high subsonic speeds, low level. Wing pylons are pivoted so that stores remain aligned to the direction of flight. Even at maximum wing store load, trim changes are virtually nil. The fuselage slots have inflated seals which withstand temperature extremes, are simple and effective. About 5% of the wing area retracts into the fuselage at maximum wing sweep. Fin and rudder are conventional, and act differentially for roll control, augmented by wing spoilers with wings forward and at mid-sweep setting. Spoilers also serve as lift dumpers after touchdown. Tornado's good airfield performance is due partly to the high-lift wing devices, such as full-span leading-edge slats and Kruger flaps, fitted to the fixed-wing nib. The employment of tailerons leave the entire trailing edge free for double-slotted flaps. At lower sweep angles, flaps and slats can be part extended to give increased combat maneuverability. Air brakes give no change in trim and are scheduled to restrict their angle of extension in relation to Mach number. Although Tornado will normally operate from fully equipped bases, it could, under war conditions, operate from airstrips where only fuel and weapons are available. To be independent of ground supplies, the APU, Auxiliary Power Unit, may be started on internal batteries. It provides power to run all electrical, hydraulic and engine start systems and allow the aircraft to be held at readiness for long periods for an immediate scramble. Thrust reversers, rather than a brake parachute, also contribute to its self-sufficiency. If a very short landing run is required, spoilers and thrust reversers can be pre-armed by rocking the throttles outboard. Deployment is then automatic as the main wheels touch down. Except for some minor variations concerning instrumentation for differing weapon systems and communications, cockpit layouts are common for the aircraft of all three nations. Central feature of the front cockpit is the moving map and head-up display. Flight panel is to the left, engine and fuel management to the right. Left-hand console shows wing sweep lever, throttles and hand controller. Engine, fuel and environmental control systems to the right. The rear cockpit has two alternative layouts. This is the trainer version with duplicated flying controls and flight instruments. It retains full strike capability. Layout of the non-trainer rear cockpit will be dealt with when we come to the navigator systems. Martin Baker Mark 10 seats can be used from 0 feet, 0 speed. Double leg and arm restraints are employed, and on trials have demonstrated safe ejection at speeds of 600 knots. A command system ensures that the pilot's ejection will automatically eject the navigator. The pilot will not be ejected by operation of the navigator's seat unless the navigator selects command ejection to aid an injured pilot. In flight, the cockpits are comfortable and unusually quiet, even at high speed, low level. Turbo Union RB199 engines, designed specifically to match Tornado's range of operational requirements, provide twin-engine safety and reliability. For maximum efficiency at part reheat settings, nozzles are fully variable. Throttles are conventional, but a 2-channel electronic control governs fuel supply. On full reheat, each unit develops more than 16,000 pounds thrust to give good airfield performance, Mach 2 plus flight, and combat maneuver. Since Tornado will spend much of its working life at high speed, low level, economic fuel consumption at max dry setting was a prime requirement of engine design. A 3-shaft layout enables each section of the engine to run at optimum speed and gives outstanding handling characteristics without the complication of variable stage compressor blading. Modular construction allows units requiring attention to be replaced without the need to return complete engines to the manufacturer for major overhauls. The engines are compact to fit into the small airframe, and large opening doors make installation straightforward. In service, an engine change can be undertaken by 3 men, and the scheduled time is 3 hours including run-up. Easily accessible inspection points allow regular health monitoring. The RB199 was designed to operate on an on-condition maintenance basis and is not removed unless these health checks indicate early stages of failure. Ease of servicing has been a major objective throughout the design, and up to 45% of the airframe surface is covered by access panels. Most of the avionic equipment is housed beneath the cockpit, and upward opening panels provide shelter for both equipment and personnel. All avionic systems are built up on an LRU, or line replaceable unit basis. LRUs are easily changed plug-in modules, which need no calibration when being installed. BITE, short for built-in test equipment, is fitted to all LRUs. An on-board checkout system continuously monitors the state of the most important of the LRUs and indicates their serviceability on the central maintenance panel. A reference chart allows the ground crew to identify the malfunction, and whether this indicates a no-go situation is a crew decision, dependent on the system affected and the projected sortie. The entire avionics system can be checked for the location and diagnosis of faults by loading a ground test program into the main computer. Fuel is supplied from a single NATO connector. This feeds the two fuselage tank groups, wing tanks and under-fuselage and under-wing detachable tanks. Each tank has a high-level cut-off valve, and the refueling process is fully automatic. A retractable flight refueling probe can be fitted to any aircraft. The fairing, which houses the retracted probe, gives no handling limitations, and the performance throughout the flight envelope is unaffected. Tornado was designed to carry the range of weapons specified by the British, Italian and German air forces. There are 3 under-fuselage pylons and 2 pylons under each wing. The outer pair are normally used for ECM pods. 2 Mauser guns each have 180 rounds of 27mm ammunition. 2 rates of fire are selectable by the pilot. The permutation of stores that can be carried make figures for range, speed and airfield performance extremely complex. This is a typical load: 8 1,000-pound bombs, 2 external tanks and twin ECM pods. Or over shorter ranges, 12 1,000-pound bombs can be carried. Takeoff is at about 150 knots. Gear and flap retraction are trim change free. Landing. The short run of about 400 meters. Depends on landing weight and whether spoilers and reversers are pre-armed. The traditional mechanical links between flying controls and hydraulic control circuit actuators extend only as far as the spine area, aft of the cockpit. Here, each control movement is translated into electrical signals. Note the 3 exit wires, since the electrical signals are triplicated to avoid failure, and will be routed apart to minimize risk of damage. Fly-by-wire allows the adoption of a sophisticated command and stability augmentation system, or CSAS for short. It gives a standard of handling which is unique in high-performance combat aircraft. At the heart of the CSAS are 2 computers, one for pitch and one for roll and yaw. Pilot demands made by the control column and rudder pedals are fed into the appropriate computers and combined with signals from pitch, roll and yaw rate gyros to give the appropriate demands for control surface deflection. Rudder movements are transmitted via the yaw computer. Symmetrical tailplane demands come via the pitch computer. differential demands come via the roll and pitch computers. At forward sweep angles, roll demands are also fed to the spoilers. The computers also receive signals of flap and air brake position for pitching moment compensation. If multiple faults occur in the CSAS computers, the system will revert to direct electrical links to the hydraulic jacks. If a fault develops or battle damage is sustained to the electrical links, a mechanical backup linkage will continue to operate the tailerons to provide a get-you-home control. Thanks to CSAS, handling characteristics and stick forces are remarkably consistent throughout the range of angles of wing sweep, with the aircraft clean or with a heavy store load. The CSAS damps out the effect of gust and, combined with a high wing loading, gives a uniquely smooth ride at speeds and heights which minimize exposure to radar and ground fire. To calculate aircraft present position, the main computer receives information from 4 sensors. Position in space information is given by an inertial navigation system, indicating heading, attitude and velocity. A twin gyro platform supplies secondary attitude and heading. Doppler radar provides secondary velocity. And an air data computer gives true airspeed and Mach number. The avionics system provides extremely precise navigation and weapon aiming. It will get an aircraft to a target at low level and enable high-speed single-pass attack in all weather conditions, by day or night. Navigational information can be inserted into the computer manually or by entering previously prepared cassettes, a number of which could be carried if last-minute changes were anticipated en route or destination. The tapes are prepared on electronic map tables, which give rapid, precise flight planning. Maps are datummed by positioning a cursor on any 2 waypoints and typing out longitude and latitude. From then on, the cursor is laid over any position to designate automatically the mission waypoints, fix points, and targets. Once the basic route is entered, ground speed, fuel load, minimum return fuel, etc., is also typed into the computer. The complete flight plan for a sortie is recorded on the cassette and can be verified by a printed readout. Information stored on each cassette is accepted into the aircraft's computer via the cockpit voice recorder. The data is now being displayed on the navigator's left-hand TV tabulator. It's in the plan format and showing the proposed sortie route with waypoints, fix points, present position and time. The right TV tab in the navigation format shows present heading against planned track. Called up, bottom right, is the velocity data box and the fix attack display used during position fixing and weapon aiming. Note Y, top left, showing range to target reducing. In the center of the navigator's cockpit is the combined radar and moving map display. This is map only, switched through the range scale 1 million, 500,000 and 250,000. Radar only of the Humber estuary. Again, various scales are available. This is the 10-mile scale. Note the resolution, which shows the line of pylons running top to bottom to right of centre. The combined map and radar gives total confidence in position. Accuracy of superimposition can be seen by the bridge, top centre. Highly detailed radar only on the 4-mile scale. Shows gravel pits top left. For weapon aiming or obtaining a blind fix, the radar can be ground stabilized. The navigator's hand controller has a number of functions, such as inserting of updated information into the computer. The weapon's control panel displays the location and type of weapon loaded. It allows a weapon package, such as number and type of store, spacing and fusing, to be pre-planned for a particular target. In the low-level role, terrain-following radar signals flight director commands to the pilot's head-up display. Its task is to fly the aircraft so as to maintain the circular aircraft symbol over the small dot. Height to be flown can be selected, as can a soft, medium or hard ride, the hard end of the scale making the maximum use of cover given by the terrain. In the autopilot mode, flight director bars are occulted. With track, height hold and auto throttle selected, terrain following can be fully automatic down to 200 feet. Radar definition is good enough to register hazards such as pylons and automatically maintain the pre-set clearance height. Failure of a component in the terrain following system would give a visual and audible warning, a wing level command followed by a 3G pull-up. Head-up display during an attack. Phase 1, showing gapped target bar indicating radar computed target position. With the hand controller, the pilot converts the attack to Phase 2 visual mode using laser ranging. Selects Phase 3, the tactical release mode. And as the target marker crosses the target, bomb release is automatic. Weapon delivery is independent of crosswind, dive angle, and aircraft speed. And target marker hotel testifies the system's accuracy. The weapon system computing capacity will undertake to deliver the range of weapons required by the partner air forces. This is Cormoran. And MW1. Tornado is already one of the most significant weapons within NATO, and its value will be further enhanced as closely integrated pilot-navigator teams exploit its full potential.
Every aircraft has a story that deserves to be told. Don't let these legends fade into the past.
Like this video and subscribe to our channel and help us keep aviation history alive.
The dictionary defines it as a small, violent storm or an outburst of applause. Both are more fitting than those who gave the Panavia Tornado its name could ever have imagined. Since it first entered into combat in January 1991 in the appropriately named Operation Desert Storm, the Tornado has gained many admirers. The end result of the largest multinational weapons development project in history, the Tornado has emerged, despite cynicism from many sources, as one of the bravest of all classic multi-role combat aircraft active today. Ignoring predictions that it would be a jack of all trades but master of none, the Tornado has instead shown that you can be a master of all trades. Designed to satisfy the rigorous requirements of three of the world's most professional air forces, plus a navy, it packs a punch much heavier than that of many other aircraft, both larger and more expensive. The story of how this was realized goes back many years. Tactical aerial combat truly started during the First World War. Initially, aircraft called scouts were utilized for reconnaissance and artillery observation duties. Then, some crews began using small arms to shoot at each other or carrying grenades to drop on troops on the ground. From these primitive beginnings arrived the concept of the fighter and the bomber. One was engineered with speed and agility in mind, the other with range and load carrying. It would be a long time before the multi-role concept could be brought into being. During the Second World War, the Spitfire emerged as the profile of the fighter. With beautiful lines and handling qualities, as well as a powerful battery of forward-firing guns, it could equally well shoot down enemy bombers or dogfight with their escort. By the 1960s, most people viewed the fighter purely as an interceptor, and the bomber as just a bomber. An inevitable consequence was aircraft like the Royal Air Force's Lightning. These sleek machines were almost all engine, and in terms of raw power, have few rivals even today. No one could forget that vertical climb almost as soon as the wheels had left the runway. But the aircraft had very limited endurance and payload capacity. They could not carry out ground attack or reconnaissance missions. To combine such capabilities in one aircraft demanded something extra special, and it was obvious from the start that it would be expensive. By the late 1960s, several European nations were looking for replacements for existing aircraft, and after 2 years of preliminary discussions, in 1969, Britain, West Germany and Italy got together to build one. That it would be a two-seater with variable geometry wings was soon established. But to get the shape right required tens of thousands of hours in different kinds of wind tunnel. The wings would spread right out for high lift at takeoff, be set at intermediate angles for cruising, and folded right back for high-speed penetration of enemy airspace. To get these features right, models were tested in spinning tunnels or at varying angles of attack. They were also fitted with miniature external stores to check that they would separate smoothly. Eventually, by 1972, it was possible to draw a three-view plan showing what the new multi-role combat aircraft, or MRCA, would look like. At that time, it was secret, and only the designers from the British Aircraft Corporation, later named British Aerospace, Messerschmitt Bölkow Blohm, and Air Italia, appreciated the fantastic compactness of their creation. It was even smaller than an F-4 Phantom, and a full 20 feet